Thursday, January 8th, 2015, at 7:54 a.m. was my last conversation with my daughter. I called her to check in like I always do and to talk about a sweater. 6 days later, I buried her in that same sweater. Summer was a bubbly, precocious, challenging young child. One of the ones that would have her hand on her hip, even at 2 years old, to tell you, "No, Mommy, I've got this." We moved out here to New York in the late 80s, and Summer was doing well in school, attended school here in Guilderland, and we were happy as a family. And Summer's behavior changed when she was about 9 years old, when she was in 4th grade. She became very dark, very angry. She began wearing black clothing and just was not herself. So I began taking her to a counselor. And Summer disclosed that she was being victimized. And I'm trying to ask her, you know, it's in my mind as if it's yesterday. You know, Summer, who's hurting you? And I went through all the names of the people that I could think of. And finally, when I came to her stepfather's name, that being the last name on the list, she slowly shook her head yes. And our world changed forever. Summer was a keeper. Is this the article? That's the article it's one of the articles from the Enterprise. So we're very close right now where we sit to where Summer was walking down the street one day, and her friends had been killed in a car crash that did involve some substance use. And Summer was impacted by that. And what was ironic to me is I had forgotten all about it, that Summer had even been involved. And I didn't know it at the time, but there apparently was a debate in the area, should we recognize these children because they were doing something that was illegal at the time of their deaths. So Summer was fundraising. And what it was to raise money for an Angel of Hope. It came from a story called The Christmas Box that their high school teacher had read at the time, and apparently per the article had placed a copy of that book on each one of the children's moms' or parents' doorsteps that had lost a child. Summer wanted to be sober. She never wanted her life to be lived struggling with addiction. Let me share her own words that she wrote while in Columbia Memorial Hospital in 2007. Today was one of the most difficult days of my life. I'm not sure what to do or even say. I'm so depressed, lonely, and lost. I've let everyone down who loves me, just like I've always done. But this time it's much worse. I actually tried to kill myself, not just for attention, but to die. What was I thinking? I have a wonderful little boy. I brought him into this world and he needs me. Who else's job is it to take care of him? I mean, really. Summer began the next 7 years of her life attempting to live a life in recovery, trying to get sober. During this period, she met a wonderful man and had 2 more children. Together, along with her older son, they became the reason that she continued to fight this battle. She became very involved with AA, and she surrounded herself with sober friends. Periods of total sobriety were interlaced with relapses that would drag her back into the depths of addiction. For 2 years, it was horrific. We police chases, 20-mile police chases, being thrown out of a car, being raped. All the things that come with the disease of addiction and being active that a mom doesn't want to hear, that a daughter doesn't want to tell her mom because she thinks she won't love me. She came to me one day and said, "Mom, I'm going to train for a race." And I was like, "Summer, we don't run anywhere, you know, we maybe across the room, are there cookies over there?" She's like, "No, you know, I'm going to do this." And It was with a group called Strong Through Every Mile, started by Jennifer Gish. It's a not-for-profit to empower women who've been victims of domestic violence. And if you went the day of that run, I didn't even want to stand there. It was snowing, it was sleeting, it was 32 degrees. I mean, it was miserable. And she ran every step of the way. And I remember that day being so proud of her and inspired, saying, you know, if she can do this, maybe I can. So she and I were supposed to train together that spring and run the next goal race, is what they call it, with the spring group. And ironically, 2 weeks later, we lost her. You just never know that that's what you get. And now, going back, what I was able to find out, she went to confront her stepfather, and instead of saying, "I'm sorry," he opened the door, recognized her, slapped her across the face, called her a whore, and told her, "You ruined my life." To cover the pain that she felt, Summer once again sought refuge in what was familiar, trying to skirt the issue of hard drugs and fooling herself that she was okay. She began to drink again and use synthetic marijuana, specifically spice. On January 9th, Summer suffered a relapse that her body could not survive. We're going to somehow make it through this heroin epidemic, just like we made it through the crack cocaine epidemic in the 80s. But addiction or substance abuse disorder is not going to go away. It's a chronic health condition, it's a disease, and it needs to be treated as such, just like we treat diabetes, just like we treat heart disease.
This is a great day, and let's raise a lot of money for awareness, and let's make sure the message gets out that recovery is possible.
After you ran your race, is that where you got the idea to begin Summer's Run?
It was at the goal run that I started to think about it. I mean, I was quasi-volunteer, quasi-newbie runner, and to watch the empowerment that occurred and to watch these women who struggled with not only domestic violence, but the majority of them struggled with a substance abuse, to see what this did for them. And so we're at our goal run, and all we're all praying is that we cross the finish line. At least I was. And afterwards, I remember thinking, I wonder if there's a run like this for addiction. One would think with a story like mine that it ends with no hope. And it ends with an amazing amount of hope, because there are 23 million people that live in recovery in the United States today. Let's try to make this a community day. Let's try to get a feeling of what recovery's like. Let's have fun. Let people be proud of those people who are, you know, striving to be in recovery. And also let's appeal to those serious runners who want to run a good certified 5K. I've learned in this process that runners are amazing people. They want to give back. When they do 5Ks and, you know, want to prep for other runs, they look to do it for a good cause. I have a statement on my desk that says, if nothing ever changes, there would be no butterflies. And it reminds me of where we are and the freedom from the struggle and the battle that Summer faced, and the freedom that somebody feels when they cross the finish line and they're empowered, or the freedom that you feel when you're in recovery. So the motto that we have on the side of the shirt, and it's what I have here, is free at last. And it's also what's on Summer's gravestone, is free at last. Because whether it is the freedom that Summer has or the freedom that somebody has living their life in recovery, it's freedom.